Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journeys from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Hey everybody, welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Super excited that you're here. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, performance enhancement expert, and author, Sean Douglas. I want to welcome all of our listeners who are listening from wherever you are. This show is currently heard in over 30 countries, such as the U.S., India, Panama, Canada, France, Australia, and Norway. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we are using these to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us every Wednesday and on the first and third Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On the show, I have impactful and amazing guests that are elevating lives all around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of my guests that are on the show, when you are listening to us live, you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. So if you have a question for me or the guests, I ask that you call in, talk to us, let us know what you like about the show, what you've heard so far. So without further ado, as they say, please help me welcome to the show, Michele PW. What is going on?
Oh, well, I'm so excited to be here with you today. So that's what's going on.
I am super pumped to have you on the show because we connected in San Diego last September at an event called the New Media Summit, and I was blown away at the things that you're doing, and I learned a lot just in the 10, 20 minutes that we were talking. Like, I learned some things about copywriting and marketing, and so I'm super pumped to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was really an amazing event, I have to say. So it's turned me on, and now I'm all about going to more podcast events.
There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. So if you're ready to get started, I am ready.
I'm ready.
Let's do this. So the title of this episode is going to be called Love-Based Business with Michele PW. Michele is the best-selling author of the Love-Based Business series of books that share how to sell more with love and build a solid, profitable business on a foundation of love. In addition, she owns a copywriting and marketing company along with writing and publishing fiction books. Considered one of the hottest direct response copywriters and marketing consultants in the industry today, Michele has a reputation for crafting copy and creating online and offline marketing campaigns that get results. Michele started writing professionally in 1992, working at agencies and on staff as a marketing, communication, and writing specialist. In 1998, she started her business as a freelance copywriter. She quickly realized her vision was bigger than serving her clients as a one-woman shop. In 2004, she began the transformation to building a copywriting and marketing company. 2 years later, her vision was turned into reality. Michele PW, Creative Concepts and Copywriting LLC, is the premier direct response copywriting and marketing company today, catering to entrepreneurs and small business owners internationally, including the who's who of the personal development and transformational industry. In addition, Michele is also a national speaker and the best-selling author of the Love-Based Business series books that teach entrepreneurs how to sell more with love and build a solid, profitable business on a foundation of love versus fear. And if you want to grab your free book, only the listeners can get this book. So if you're listening, write this down. Grab your free book, How to Start a Business You Love and That Loves You Back. You can visit lovebasedbiz, B-I-Z, lovebasedbiz.com. Go grab your free copy of her book. She's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So definitely check her out and connect with Michele. So I'm like, wow, super pumped because I suck at copywriting. So I'm sure I'm going to learn some things today.
Well, you're not alone. A lot of people either suck at it or say they suck at it or just plain don't want to write. So there's that too.
Oh, definitely. I don't know what it is. Like, I think it's good, and then somebody's like, yeah, that really sucked. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Nearly as much as you think, but
no.
But yeah, I don't think so.
So explain to us real quick. What is copywriting? Like when I think of copywriting, because I'm an author, I think of, oh, my book is copyrighted. I don't have to, nobody's going to steal my stuff, right? I don't have to worry about people stealing things. But what is, like, is it more than just copywriting in a sense that your stuff's protected?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's not protecting intellectual property because it's actually spelled differently, copyright, and it's all government and lawyers and other unpleasant things. So what I've specialized in is copywriting, WRITING, which is precisely what it sounds like, which is writing promotion materials for business. And then I actually, there's a subset of that. That's my real specialty, which is something called direct response copywriting. And the reason why it's called direct response copywriting is because your ideal prospects are directly responding to the marketing materials. So it's like you're creating little salespeople that go out and sell your stuff while you sleep or work or, play with your kids or whatever it is that you want to do. It's a great way to leverage your marketing. This is a way to market, to leverage and market one-to-many is by using direct response copy. But of course, the problem is, for a lot of people, they hate it because it feels slimy, salesy, inauthentic, like a used car salesman. This is the copy that when you find on the web, and you're scrolling down forever going, just how much is this thing? And does anybody read all those copies anyway?
Yep.
Yeah. And nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. But the short answer is it does work. And it can really, as an entrepreneur, it can massively free up your business and your time.
How so?
Because of that leveraging one-to-many. And the thing is that because now you don't have to go out and sell and market yourself, do all the work one-on-one. So that means you don't have to show up at the networking events and make get the leads one by one, then follow up every, one by one, then sell them one by one. And then you got to actually, deliver what you sold. Usually business owners just want to focus on the service delivery, which is what you're selling and not the marketing piece of it. So if you use direct response copy, though, you see now the direct response, the copy can actually attract the prospects to you and can do a lot of the selling for you and a lot of the follow-up for you. You still might have to get on the phone. I'm not saying you're never going to get on the phone. You likely will always have to get on the phone. But using the direct response copy and marketing can have you get on the phone with warm people that you didn't actually have to go out and meet and bring to your business. The reality is if you aren't using direct response copy and direct response marketing strategies in your business, you are likely, I'm not saying you are, but you are likely going to always have a pretty small business because it's just really hard to scale. I'm not saying you can, and I'm not saying that there's some unicorns out there who have done it, who haven't done it, because there's always a unicorn. But I'm just saying that chances are it's never going to grow. You're never going to grow much beyond a one-on-one business. So my massage therapists don't use this, and so that's the thing. They're not going to they're never going to really grow to a multi-million-dollar business. They're probably always going to just have sort of a job-like business.
Got it. So the first question that I always ask on the show, and I think it's the most important question as we dive deep, is what is your why? I feel like without a why, we're kind of just floundering. There's no purpose, right? So when I wake up in the morning, my why is always at the forefront of everything I do. So why do you do what you do? What is your why?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people flounder when they don't have a why. So I have a couple of whys, but probably, it's interesting because my why actually shifted. I thought my why was something else.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Sure.
in fact, I'll even tell you about the shift because that might be interesting. Because for a long time, I thought my why was, and I'm not saying that this isn't part of what gets me up, but I found out what I realized it wasn't my full why. And initially I thought it was that I really wanted to grow a business that could help, because part of what I do is I help other entrepreneurs market their business. And the thing is that not only am I making a difference in all those entrepreneurs who have businesses, but then all those people that they would never be able to reach without my help. I actually have the capacity to really change and transform the world, because I'm helping the entrepreneurs reach the people they are most meant to serve. So the people who they are meant to serve gets help, and the entrepreneurs get help. And that sounds really great. And you can see, that's part of the why, but that wasn't the full why. So part of what ended up happening was, after my mother passed a couple years ago, and I went through kind of a crisis of everything, questioning everything, and realized that, one of my real dreams, I taught myself to read when I was 3 years old because I wanted to write my book so badly. And I had completely left my books behind. I had been so focused on this, level of service, actually doing the done for you work for you. So when my mother was dying, one of the things that happened, I was holding her hand in ICU and saying to myself over and over again, let go and let God, and I'm not going to die with my books inside me. So one of the things that I started to realize was that it was much bigger than that, because part of it was actually getting my books out there so I could help entrepreneurs at this level, instead of even me and my team. Because I have a copywriting company. I have a team of copywriters, and we're still, and it's still going strong. But there, again, there is a time limitation. So that's part of where the books came in, because the books are part of that. And really what I think one of my ultimate things is, I'm really also here because I'm here to inspire other people to be more comfortable with their fear-based or uncomfortable emotions, because I do think that that's part of the reason why we have so many issues in this world, is we're so busy running away from our fear-based emotions.
That's true. Absolutely. That's great. So tell me who you were before you got to this point. Go back 5, 10, 15, however many years. Who were you before you got to this point, if you look back?
Oh, I was a mess. I was an absolute mess.
That's awesome.
And the thing is you wouldn't have known it. That's the funny thing. From the outside, I was very good at hiding what a train wreck, what was going on in my head. And what I mean by train wreck, let me be clear. There are train wrecks and there are train wrecks. I've been around enough entrepreneurs that sometimes they're busy taking selfies in expensive cars and in the Four Seasons, and then they're declaring bankruptcy. That wasn't my train wreck. My train wreck was, I had a good business. I had a multiple six-figure business. I was profitable, but what was going on in my head, I had no peace of mind. I was massively consumed with worry and anxiety. And over the years, it was just getting worse and worse and worse as I kept putting more pressure on myself. Really was convinced that I had to make some sort of undefinable level of income, and then all my worries would go away. And nothing else I could, that was what I needed to do. So that was all my focus was, and I was desperately unhappy. So it was 2012 when my mom was first diagnosed with cancer. That was a tough year anyways, because my mother diagnosed in cancer was actually the final straw. There were some other personal issues that had happened earlier that year. And I just had a bit of a mental meltdown. I started crying. I couldn't stop. And I had nightmares, and it was really bad. And so in the middle of this whole thing, like a couple of weeks of just really suffering, I got this little voice in my head, and the little voice said to me, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you handle it. And I realized in that moment that how I was handling all this was awful. It was terrible.
Yeah, right.
So, and because it's just, if life is 10% what happens and 90% how you handle it, maybe I need to change that 90%. So I found a spiritual mentor, and one of the first things she told me to do was learn about the Enneagram. I don't know if you've ever had a guest on that talked about the Enneagram before, but I'm an Enneagram 6, which is worrier.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's a really interesting. I really thought it saved my life. And if there's any other worriers out there, learning about an Enneagram 6 may indeed save your life too, because I know it's the train wrecks going on in your head. But there's 9 types. And it's basically what it is your personality and your ego is kind of wrapped around your biggest fear. And each type has a biggest fear. And they're based on the 7 deadly sins plus 2. And for better or for worse,
really?
Actually, the Enneagram 6 is fear, which is not a deadly sin. So I'm one of the plus 2. But wow. And it's really interesting because when you read it and you start reading how your personality, the actions that you're taking, it's not so much I guess maybe not so much your personality, but it's your actions that you take to protect yourself from your greatest fear, of course, cause you to have your greatest fear.
Yeah, right.
And so it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have to kind of break through that. And so that's what I started doing. And part of what that was requiring me to sit in my worry and not allow my head to go off in future spin. So I had to feel the feelings of worry and anxiety. And the first time I did this, by the way, I literally thought I was going to die. I didn't think I felt this was so bad. I didn't think I could possibly be doing this right. But I stayed with it because I was really pretty desperate. And eventually I broke through. And really, I don't worry anymore. So that's really what's happened in this whole thing. And it was after that, after I'd gotten a lot of peace a couple years later, when the love-based philosophy really downloaded into me. And I never would have had the love-based philosophy download into me without going through this.
Wow. I'm just blown away because I've never heard that.
It's the Wisdom of the Enneagram is the first book for anybody who's interested. I find the whole thing fascinating.
Oh, so do I. So looking back, can you pinpoint exactly what your transformational moment was?
So I don't know if it was the meltdown or, it was probably right there if it was the meltdown or if it was actually the first time I felt the feelings. I was in Cabo. And it worked out perfectly. These things always do work out perfectly, just as long as you stop trying to control everything.
No kidding.
Yeah. If you surrender to what's happening, the universe actually, will help. It's a kind of an amazing thing, especially for control freaks. But so so basically, it was, I took the book with me, and we were in Cabo for 2 weeks. So it was great because, we're by the ocean, and I live in Arizona, which is in the desert. There's no ocean around. So ocean and water is really good for transformation. I could take a lot of baths, saltwater baths to kind of help through this. So, and I was on vacation, which of course is not necessarily, nobody wants to be feeling really crappy when they're on vacation, but in retrospect, it was perfect. So I could really just sit and like I said, because the first time I was there, I remember sitting outside in the sun. It's a beautiful place, and like I really thought I felt so awful. And I remember emailing my spiritual mentor in this panic. And that was the other thing too. It was kind of nice because I could email, but I couldn't call, I couldn't text. I had some of that stuff taken away, which is good because it relied on me to just kind of sit and be with my emotions, which is precisely what I needed. If I had been home, I could have picked up the phone. I could have done some other things to distract myself. And True. I think in that, so that happened. And like I said, it was an awful day, an awful afternoon. But then it was funny because in a day or two later, I suddenly realized that my anxiety had gone down significantly. And I thought, So I was able to stay with it. because it was just the start. Fear-based emotions, and fear-based emotions, by the way, are fear, grief, anger, shame, guilt, all those emotions. All those emotions you don't want to feel.
Oh yeah.
And love-based emotions are obviously the emotions you do want to feel. And
right.
Where I got into this was because selling and marketing and copy, persuasion, any kind of persuasion, the only way you're going to persuade somebody to take action is you have to tap into their emotions, and you can either tap into their fear-based emotions or their love-based emotions, but you need to tap into emotions. So that's kind of how this whole thing got connected with the copy piece of it. But it's amazing, because the deeper I went with this whole thing, I started to realize just how much we respond, we don't respond, we react to our emotions. How often do we allow our fear-based emotions to cause, we either take action, which is usually not good action, or we make decisions from our emotions. And our emotions just want to be felt, even our fear-based ones. Once they feel them, they move on, and that's it. But, you're not supposed to argue with them. You're not supposed to discuss things with them or rationalize with them or make decisions or react from them. You just feel them. And the more you can understand that, and the less afraid you are when they pop up, your entire life changes. I mean, you really can have inner peace, and you really can make decisions that are not based on emotion. That's
absolutely right. Absolutely. What would you say to somebody who is experiencing these emotions that you felt? What is your message to them?
So to pause and breathe and just feel, and just so the next time something hits you like rage, and and you have this, and what's going to probably happen, the first thing you have to do is you have to be aware of what your behavior is. And some common behaviors are, you want to rush home and grab a glass of wine, or eat Rocky Rococo ice, or Rocky Road ice cream.
Rocky Road.
Or maybe you want to get on Facebook and start ranting about something.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, starting fights, ranting, or getting into massive arguments with people, or arguing or yelling at your kids or your spouse, even though you know that it's not their fault. All of these actions are to diffusing. They're giving you another outlet for the energy that you're feeling with the emotion. So you're sending it out that way. You're numbing the emotion. You're pushing it back. You're not feeling it. So the first thing you have to do is you have to, and the thing is, you probably do multiple behaviors. So, but there's probably going to be a couple of your go-to behaviors. I mean, for me, I also procrastinated. I had lack of focus.
Oh, yeah.
I also, you also might, this is where you binge on Netflix, so that's other ways it can show up. I mean, really, there's a lot of ways it can show up. So the first thing you have to do is see that, and then see what your action is. And so, because then what you're going to want to do is not do the action. And I will say, like, the anger one is harder. So it took me a while. I remember the first time I stopped myself because I wanted to, my husband said something, and I so much wanted to yell at him. And the thing is what he said to me, it was one of those stupid, I mean, I've been married for a long time, over 20 years. So, it was something that he said, and I took it, I made a story around it that wasn't even true, which I realized after I did this. And it had taken me a while. I had to have a lot more control over my emotions before I could do this. But I remember I wanted to yell at him. And I remember I was like opening my mouth to yell, and I actually clenched my jaw shut. And so I'm standing there. I was actually in the kitchen making breakfast because I make shakes for both of us. And I'm standing there with my mouth clenched shut, not letting myself talk. And I didn't let myself talk for a good 5-10 minutes, and then the situation just resolved itself. I said absolutely nothing, and everything just resolved itself. And that's a real advanced thing. But that's the thing. That was my first time stopping anger, and when I was able to stop anger and get out of that moment, now I don't. I certainly feel anger, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's very rare for me to lash out in anger. I can usually control the initial hotness enough to think through what it is that I want to say and sort through, is this a story that I'm making up about what this person said? Am I being triggered? And I can actually ask questions or, be more curious. So that's the kind of thing that's where this can lead. I mean, it can really just completely transform the way you interact with the people around you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So true. Perfect. So what do you think was the best part about your transformation?
Well, the fact that I do have inner peace and I don't worry. So, the worrying piece of it, because I probably should talk, because that's how I started it. Worrying was a little easier in some respects because I didn't have that a second where you want to open your mouth and yell. Because what happened with me is you get lost in that worry and you start future spinning and you start playing that what if game and going what if this happens, what if this happens. So what I had to do is I had to stop. Like when I saw myself, and you do get so involved in the story you don't even realize that you're saying it. But eventually you can start to see that you're repeating this what if. And so then what you do is you have to force yourself to stop thinking it, which is really hard. But you force yourself to stop in that story, and then you just feel that worry. And me, where it's going up for me is my gut, and you just feel and breathe into that worry. And like I said, it's going to feel awful. Don't get me wrong, but eventually it will move. It will dissipate. So if this is really intense for you, by the way, because this is actually pretty intense to just feel your emotions the way I'm describing. Another way to do it that would be less intense is to tap. So I'm not a tapping expert, emotional freedom technique, but that can be another way to release the emotional energy, the emotional triggers around it. Use tapping and to kind of dissipate that, and then and get through it that way. So that can be something else. You still feel the emotions, but then you tap, and then rather than just sitting and breathing and feeling your emotions, you're tapping, and then your brain kind of calms down, and you move through it. So I wanted to mention that because that could be another way if what I'm talking about is like the first time you try it, you think, oh my God, this is awful. Try tapping. Tapping may help.
Yeah, perfect. So what do you think was the worst part about your transformation?
Well, I still get stuck in the whole, the worst part of this is that I would love to be able to say that you get to the end. It's like, I'm cured. Yeah. I don't have any problems anymore.
I'm good now.
So no. The thing is if you have a big goal and a big dream and you're really pushing yourself, this is going to keep happening because every time you hit a new level, resistance is going to come up. I mean, that's what Stephen Pressfield for the War of Art called it. And the guy or Gay Hendricks for the called it an upper limit problem. There's other names for this, but basically, it is never ending. And I am always more than a little frustrated when when it crops back up for me because I'm just like, haven't I gone through it enough? So, but then I have to relax and surrender and breathe. And I will say, though, the longer you do it, the faster everything moves through you. And usually it's not nearly as intense either. So it definitely gets easier and faster and better. But, yeah, it really is a never-ending journey.
I love it. Yeah, I completely agree because I still battle like negative self-talk and like stupid things. I'm like, why would I think that? Like I literally teach people like how to, think big and don't compare yourself, like all this stuff. And then I find myself like falling into those traps.
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating.
It is.
So.
But it's, we're human and try to give yourself a break. And I try to give myself a break. So I'm giving you the same thing that I give myself.
Perfect.
But yeah, give yourself a break.
Perfect. So while you were building your business, right, love-based business, okay, who were some of your influencers that kind of helped you along?
So, well, I mean, I had some wonderful friends that really pushed me to come up with a new way to write copy that wasn't so hypey and salesy and inauthentic, which is, traditional direct response copy, what I call fear-based copy, which sounds a lot more judgmental than I want it to be, by the way. But
Right. Hello? Did we lose you? I think we lost Michele. Michele, are you still with us? Oh, I think we lost her. That's what happens when you do live shows. Hold on, we'll get her back. Get her back. So we were talking with Michele PW here on Life Transformation Radio. If you have any questions, you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. Michele, are you still with us? Hello, Michele. We're going to get her back. That's what we have. Technical difficulties on live radio shows. That's what we deal with. Michele, are you with us? We're getting her back. Hey, there you are.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
This is live show.
Weird.
Right? That was like
anything
super weird. I'm
happen.
like, where'd she go? She's like mid-conversation. But you know what though? This is live show. Like this is what I like. People seeing the behind the scenes stuff. They're seeing the weirdness that goes on. Like someone's driving right now. And they're like, all right, what happened? And I swear, someone's checking their phone right now. Was it me? Like, what happened? Like, what happened? They don't hear anything. So
well, what was so I know the thing is
show.
I've done so many podcasts and all the pre-recorded ones nothing happens, but of course the live ones
right?
I get
oh yeah.
off.
Oh, it's like Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Murphy's Law. So we were talking about the influencers that we have in our life, and you were talking about some friends and family and some people that have helped you along. I'd love to know where you've taken it since then. Since you started. I'd love to see or love to hear, kind of like what you're enjoying most about what you're doing right now and and all that jazz.
So right now, what I'm really loving is the fact that I'm in a place where so I've got my books out there, and I'm able to have the time to like go on, shows like yours and talk about this and really just get the love-based philosophy out in the world, because I do feel like this is transformational. Not only can it transform how we market and sell ourselves and our businesses, but now we can build our businesses on a foundation of love. I mean, so much in our lives have been built on a foundation of fear. I mean, our governments, a lot of our businesses before, marketing, selling, all of this, our goals, our relationship with money. And this is really an opportunity that we can, because that's the deeper I went into this, the more I realized how it just affects every part of our life. So I've written like a series of books, and I have more planned because I just see it's so important. So I've got, love-based copy, love-based marketing, love-based money and mindset, and love-based goals, because I really want, to show practically how self-development can fit with all this other stuff. Because I think that's one of my biggest problems with self-development, personal development, spiritual development, is it always kind of feels like it happens on the side, and it happens over here. That's what happened with me. It's like I can work on my personal development once I make X amount of money. When in reality, I needed to work on my inner game and my own capacity for peace, and that would have made it a lot easier to then work on the external, the money and the marketing and all that other stuff. So they're all related. So having the opportunity to be able to do that, and I had set myself up so that I wasn't able to work. I was procrastinating. I would lack focus when it came to my own work. So a lot of my transformation now is that I've been able to do that. I now have the time and the energy so that I can work on my own stuff. And then, of course, I've brought back in my fiction. So I'm writing fiction as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And you were saying that before that you did some fiction stuff too. So that's great.
Yeah, so I'm able to pursue both, and that was, it was really difficult because I've tried writing fiction and working on my business in the past, and it was always very stressful. But now, it's actually not. It's been amazing to me that this work, that sorting out the crap in my head, has given me the time and the space to work on fiction and nonfiction and not feel stressed. So for all of you listening who are artists, who have, maybe you have fiction or art, painting, music, something that you don't, that you're doing, but it's not obviously bringing in your full-time income, and maybe you're struggling with that division, the more you can kind of sort out your own mindset, and the easier it is to balance everything.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. So I always ask this question. I'm fascinated by the answers. Right? What's the first thing you would do if you had to start completely over? The business is gone. You still have the knowledge, all the friends, all the money, all the whatever. Like you're starting at scratch, but you still have the knowledge. What's the first thing you think you do?
So wait, I don't have the friends and the connection. Is that what you're saying? That's
yeah.
All gone?
So all you're left with, right? All you're left with is your knowledge that you've had, that you've gained, and you have to start all over again.
So I would start. I think the first thing to start really with is building your audience, and I realize that it's. Because you have to build and quite honestly, I know there's like this I'm going to do something about this because this Facebook ad just drives me crazy where it talks about building an audience is a waste of time. And I now I haven't actually watched it, so I don't know what he's teaching, but I can make an informed guess. What do I think he's teaching? And while I think what he's saying has got some merit, because it does take a long time to build an audience. That is the best way to have stability in your income is to build your own audience. So a lot of what you need to do is kind of balance, making, short-term sales and bringing clients on board with building an audience. So that's what I would do. And I would be and the thing is that I would be more clear, because how I started, I just kind of, 1999 is when I started as a freelance copywriter. I started this, which is then in 2004, I turned it into a copywriting company. But, I was very unfocused and kind of like, when I first started out, it was like, oh, sure, I'll fix it. I'll plan your event and I'll do a PR campaign, all this stuff that I really wasn't, I could do, but that didn't mean I should do. So
right.
I wasted a lot of energy and time just kind of going in a lot of different directions. So now I'm a lot more clear and more clarity. So I would be a lot more focused in what I was doing.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. Great answer. So what do you think was one of the best resources that you've used during your journey up to this point?
One of my best resources. So what do you mean by resources?
It could be experience. Could be experience. Could be people. Could be books. Could be a website. Anything that you're like, oh, without this, I'd be screwed.
So I think some of the resources, so I guess with me, I mean, a lot of it has been books. So I know that I was, some of the books that I talk about, like the book, Stephen Pressfield's, Art of War was really good. Gay Hendricks, I guess it's The Big Leap, but he talks about the upper limit problem. All those things that really focus on anything that really helps you get the heart of your inner of the inner game. Because I realized it took me a while before I realized that the reason why I wasn't getting the success I wanted was because of me. I finally had to take a look and think, well, I tried all these external strategies and I still haven't gotten anywhere. So I guess the only thing left is to work on myself. So for me, that's where I would be. And the other thing too is that, I really wish that I discovered the Enneagram book, much earlier, because I think rather than proceed down this very painful path, it would have been nice if I had gotten a handle on my emotions sooner and stopped worrying years ago, because I could have saved myself an awful lot of anxiety.
Yeah. You make a valid point. So where are you headed now? What kind of new adventures, businesses, family? Talk about what you're doing today and how you're helping people and what your business is all about.
So I am, so I've got the Love Based Biz blog, which is going, it's a fresh blog. And what I mean by that, it's only been a year old, but it's starting to get some real big traction. I've got a podcast myself, Love Based Money, on there. And, so really, really trying to get the love-based philosophy into the world, and then also working on I've got 2 fiction novels out, and they're psychological thrillers, and Mirror Image and Stolen Twin, and I'm working on a new fiction series which should be out. I'm very close to having the second book done, and I'm planning to launch that this summer. So that will be a new adventure because I've never done a fiction series before, so I'm pretty excited.
That's awesome. That's pretty awesome. So, with the fiction, is it different writing fiction than, with all the different categories that you have, right? Like copywriting and marketing tools and everything that you write. Do you use the same tactics for each, or do you have certain ways of doing things based on the genre or something that you're writing?
It's interesting, but I actually have different writing rituals depending on what I'm writing. I'm going to have to cough. I can't believe this. First I get kicked off, and then I have to cough. You think while I was kicked off, I would have coughed, and then I would have been fine.
Right.
So I actually have different writing rituals depending on what it is that I'm working on. So I like different candles. I like different candles. I put on different music. That's what I do.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Perfect.
It is different. It is different depending on what it is. But you still want to get the muse involved.
Definitely. Yep. So I just wanted to make sure, because there's a lot that goes into, writing the sales copy and writing marketing things and just getting everything, together so that, it sells and it's fresh and it's great and everybody wants to read it. Because like you said before, when I see super long emails, I'm like, oh, like this sucks. like I know I'm gonna have to read it all, and I'm like, God, this is super long. Or I see I get on a landing page, and there's just like this super long sales copy. I'm like, holy crap! Like, I don't, does it have to be long to be effective? Or, because with people's attention spans today, I wouldn't think you'd have to write something super long.
It doesn't have to be long. Long still does work, though. I think what it really has to do is it has to tap into people's passion. And so in that sense, that's one of the things that's one of the things where everything comes together. Like, you want to tap into passion and and emotion when you're writing fiction, and you want to tap into people's passion too when you're writing copy, because passion, hope, especially when you are writing it from a love-based perspective. I mean, you regardless, you're tapping into emotion, and you can choose to tap into fear or love. So you can tap into the passion, the hope, the transformation that people are looking for, and use that, and still use stories. There's a lot of story uses in copy and marketing because stories sell. People want to read stories. So you can, putting stories in your email, story in your, my books have a lot of stories in it. My nonfiction books have a lot of my story. The Love Makes Money one, especially, I share a lot of my story, but I share my stories throughout. I share stories from my clients, from other people, so people can really get a sense of how this works, because that's how we really do learn through stories. It's kind of encoded in our DNA. Our brain processes stories. So, so in that sense, so that's another thing that's been kind of the sort of a unifying factor. And even like think about some of our most blog posts that are really popular. A lot of them, because they integrate, either the author's story or somebody else's story in that blog post.
Yep. Yeah, I was always wondering about it. I'm like, because I write my stuff, but all I hear about is, it's got to be quick, it's got to be to the point, like take out the fluff, and you want to connect with them, and and so it's not too short, but I mean it's kind of, it's longer, because I have a lot of stuff to share. But I mean, I've seen pages where it's like scroll, like, oh my gosh, this thing is long. So do you think that people do that? They scroll to see how long the pages are before they read them?
Yeah, and what a lot of times they will. So they'll actually scroll down, and they're skimming as they're scrolling down. And then a lot of times they're making note of things they want to do better. So if you actually look at a heat map of how people read, they'll usually scroll all the way down to the bottom. They're also looking for the price. And then they'll start scrolling up and reading things that have caught their eye. So they rarely will start at the beginning and read straight down. They're usually jumping around. But people need a certain number of questions. They need their questions answered, I guess. So if they're gonna buy something, and this is everybody, you have questions you need answers before you're gonna buy. Now, if something costs 99 cents or $99 or $999 or $1,900 or $19,000, you're gonna have different questions, and likely the more expensive it gets, you're going to have more questions as well. That's one of the reasons why when you start getting more higher priced items, they're longer, because you're going to have more questions. And the thing is that everybody has different questions. Part of the reason why that sort of the jump and the skipping works, because then somebody who only has a few questions, they can get those questions answered, and then they can buy. And then somebody who's got a lot more questions, they can spend on it a lot longer and get more of their questions answered, so they can buy. So that's kind of how it is. You're trying to satisfy a variety of people and a variety of questions.
There you go. Answers the question. I like it. So this is the moment now at the end of the show where we do a shameless plug. You can plug a friend, your quotes, websites, Facebook, products, your books, movies, give a shout out, whatever you want to do. This is your moment. Shameless plug. Go.
So I would love to invite all of you to visit the lovebasedbiz.com or lovebasedbizblog.com. And that's really where I'm digging more into this, everything love-based business, love-based marketing, all of that, love-based goals. And, and also you can learn more about the Love-Based Business series of books on there as well. And then, of course, if you like fiction, if you like psychological thrillers, mystery suspense books, it would be great if you wanted to check out the novels as well. And you can find those at michelepariza.com. Which I know is a mouthful, or you can just simply if you find the Love Based books on Amazon. My Author Central account has everything linked to it, so you can find it that way too. But yes, the Love Based Biz blog or lovebasedbiz.com is kind of the central hub for everything.
There you go. I like it. So as we wrap up, can you deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action?
Wherever you're at right now is absolutely perfect. And so what I just love to let everybody know is, don't compare yourself. Be patient where you're at. A lot of these people that you probably admire and you look up to, you don't know what they went through to get to where they're at. You also don't know how much team they have. You don't know how long it all took. So just really be patient with yourself on the process and pick yourself back up when you fall down and just really, be good to yourself. I think, we all beat ourselves up a lot. I beat myself up an awful lot. We're harder on ourselves than anybody else. And that's not really helpful in terms of building a business or building a life, especially if you want to build a love-based one. So I just really would love to inspire everybody to just be, gentle with yourself.
That's amazing, because I need to hear that too. Like, don't compare yourself. Because me and my buddies will always talk. We're kind of doing the same thing. We're always speaking, and I look, I'm like, man, like this guy is crushing it. And then all of a sudden, like, I get like a whole bunch of stuff going right in my life. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, dude, you're crushing it. Like, I think just subconsciously, we're always checking. We're kind of peeking to see what other people are doing. Like, what's he doing over there? Like, we're just kind of just peeking over the fence. But we got to like knock that off. Like, don't do that. Just stay in your lane and focus on what you need to focus on. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
Do your part and don't get worried about what other people are doing.
Yep. I love that. So, as we wrap up, we always end the show with a call to action. So, what should someone do today? You mentioned going to lovebasedbiz.com. We talked about your books. What should somebody do? Set a goal, plan something, write in a journal. What would be your call to action today?
Start to observe when you get triggered by something, when you feel like anger or worry. Those are the two main ones, I would say. When that crops up, rather you start doing as much as you can to observe the action you take to avoid feeling it. So just start there. You don't have to actually stop that action that's next, but just start to observe what it is that you do so that you can become familiar with with your action and the patterns that you do to sort of avoid feeling your fear-based emotions.
I like it. Awesome. Michele, thank you so much for being on the show. I learned a lot. I've got to get better at copywriting and marketing, and I'm going to take some of the things that you had mentioned and put it to good use. So I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It has been a blessing and an honor. And so your website is lovebasedbiz, B-I-Z, lovebasedbiz.com. And they can go there and get your free book, How to Start a Business You Love and That Loves You Back. Is that right?
Yep, that is absolutely right.
Outstanding. So once again, Michele, thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest, and we will talk to you soon. Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing guest, another incredible episode. Reach out to Michele. You go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Look for Michele with one L, MichelePW is her last name, Michele PW. You got to check her out. She's doing incredible things. If you're not good at copywriting, if you're not good at writing sales copy, if you suck at marketing, look her up, send her a message, get in touch with her, get her book. It's going to change your life. So as we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out those values that you hold deeper in your heart. And I call that living your brand. And until next episode, have a great night.